Hello, and welcome to Rethinking Our History, where we seek to shed a light on events that have been forgotten and covered up, and to make us all question how much do we really know about our history? I'm Felicia.
And I'm Ian, and we are here to reveal all the sordid details of history that have been swept under the rug. Get ready to get angry, be curious, and maybe have a laugh or two as we rethink our history.
Hello, friends.
Hey guys.
Welcome back to another lesson, episode 7 of Rethinking Our History.
Nice.
Hope you guys had a good week and hope you enjoyed the Radium Girls last week.
Yeah.
I don't know. You gotta find a different word for enjoyed. Found it inspiring, titillating. I don't know. I need one of those synonym books. What's it called?
uh,
Was it the
Thesaurus.
yeah, that thing. Anyways, if you would be so kind, please give us a like and follow on all the social medias, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram by searching for the Paranormal Lovers in the search bar. If you or someone you know prefers video, we can also be found on YouTube. If you found us here first and are a fan of the paranormal, give our flagship show, The Paranormal Lovers, a follow. We have almost 100 episodes. We will be recording episode 88 after this.
That's crazy.
Over there, covering everything from aliens, cryptids, and ghosts to government cover-ups and random mysteries. If you would like to support the making of this pod, we have two ways you can do so. We have a merch store over at theparanormallovers.threadless.com, and we have a flash sale going on from today, Monday the 23rd, until Friday the 27th for $13 t-shirts.
$13 t-shirts.
$13 t-shirts. We also have a Patreon. We have one $5 tier where you get early access to unedited videos of both of our shows, as well as 2 stickers a month. I put a month. One from our merch shop and one handmade by Ian. And who knows, y'all might also get some other random merch because I got a cricket for my birthday, so I'm going to start making shit. So
yeah,
hit up Patreon because you might get a t-shirt every once in a while. You might get a cup. Who fucking knows?
It's that girl's birthday too.
Mm.
That girl, yeah.
Who's that girl? Dun, 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 dun.
So, as Grim Green would say, skip around the room. Skip around the room.
Yeah,
skip, mother truckers.
Anyways, one of the stickers will be from our merch shop, and one will be handmade by Ian.
Yeah.
And lastly, if you have a personal story that covers the paranormal, true crime, or history, if you have a topic request, or if you want to fight about our super liberal views, email us at theparanormallovers@yahoo.com.
Also, send in them votes for the Face of Horror.
Face of Horror, Face of Horror, Face of Horror. Yeah. He's actually made it to the second round, folks. Let's get him into the third round.
Yeah, I'm real close to getting through the third round, too. I'm like number 11th.
Oh, so you only got to be 10?
Yeah, it's like 10 or less. So
yep.
I'm real close on this one.
Vote them up, folks. Vote them up.
Just get them votes in. You can do it once a day for free.
Yep.
If you want to vote for me.
All right, guys. So this week I have more of a feel-good story for us.
Yeah.
Because history is dark, but it's not all dark. And some people have done great things, and I don't think the general public knows about them as much as they should.
Yeah.
So this is someone I learned about several years ago, and while I am thankful for my brother's existence, his product affected our personal life, when we had our daughter. For many parents around the world, the product that Martin Couney is known for has been a literal lifesaver. In this NICU Awareness Month, we are going to get to know the man that brought incubators for the babies to the masses in the U.S. As some of you know, our daughter Patty was born at 31 weeks and 6 days, making her 8 weeks premature. Ironically, my brother from my mother was also born 8 weeks premature. For both of them and any other baby born before 34 to 37 weeks, they spent some time in an incubator or a specialized tool that uses warm air and humidity to keep a baby's temperature regulated. There are many dangers to a child being born early, but the fact that they cannot yet regulate their own body temperature can kill them within hours.
Hmm.
So, who is the man that brought this life saving invention across the pond? Well, that's kind of hard to say. Born Michael Cohen in 1869, Martin Couney was born in the town of Krotogen when the area was still part of OG German Prussia. This is now Poland.
How do you spell his name?
Martin, Martin, last name Couney, Couney, maybe? Yeah, Ney. Duh, it's right there on the notes. Ding dong. And that is about the most we know for sure of his early life. For whatever reason, probably a good one considering the times, he was very secretive about his upbringing in most of his life. While Coney claimed to have studied in Leipzig and Berlin and received a European license, there are no records of him attending any medical institution in Europe. It is also not known exactly when he had immigrated to the US. Many people have tried to find an exact date to figure out exactly when and where Martin was whenever he was wherever he was. Like, nobody really knows what this dude did in his early life. He's like, I went to school over here. And they're like, there's no record. And he's like, I don't know. Look at these babies. Aren't they cute? Literally.
Yeah.
We do know that in 1903, Martin married Annabelle May, a nurse he employed. In 1907, Annabelle gave birth to their daughter, Hil, Hil, Hildegard Coney, who was born 6 weeks premature. Annabelle would pass away in 1936. It is also known that Martin did spend some time studying under French obstetrician Pierre Constant Boudin. Boudin is known as the founder of modern perinatal medicine, so thank you to Mr. Boudin. During 1896, the men traveled to Berlin's Great Industrial Exhibition. Nope, Exposition. Yeah. Where they showcased Boudin's Kinderbrutenstalt or child hatchery. I actually pronounced that word several times when I was typing it up. I was like, Kinderbrutenstalt. The show was a success, and in 1897, Coney was invited to the Diamond Jubilee celebration for Queen Victoria, where he would showcase his upgraded incubator for the first time. This was also a success, and with this, Coney took his show on the road. Now, this can be a touchy subject for some because we're going to talk. Well, when Coney came to the US, he went on tour taking his incubator all over the country. At the time, his incubator or his show was known as a sideshow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, babies in a sideshow.
That's weird.
It's weird, right? I'm not the only one that thinks that's weird, right?
I guess they thought it was like a sideshow because of premature babies.
Yeah, I mean,
look
we'll
a
get
little
into it, but it's
different.
like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's strange to see how the times have changed.
Mm-hmm.
Like they considered premature babies to be this weird thing that like was something that warranted you paying money to see at a carnival.
Right.
What? I'm confused. I know.
Oh, is that why they have a carnival at Coney Island?
No,
No.
no, but he did spend a lot of time at Coney Island.
Right.
I know many of us probably think of the quote unquote freak shows that used to travel around, and as we were just saying, that's kind of how it was seen. These babies were seen as weak and unfit to survive adulthood. AKA
Yeah, that is not the case with ours.
eugenics. And before the turn of the century, there was not much they would do to help a preemie. I think there was some lack of knowledge at play, but again, eugenics was quite popular in the medical field at the time.
Right.
Um,
So this guy was not popular.
Not really. Let's keep in mind that this is also the time that asylums and prisons were being built at a record pace. People could be lobotomized for being queer. Slavery was just coming to an end, and many people still considered black people to be three-fifths of a person.
Oh my god.
Yeah, we were
What the fuck is
literally
wrong with people?
seen as three-fifths of a person. Three-fifths of a. I'm like, how do you. Never mind.
I would not have survived back then.
So even though it is disgusting, it should not surprise that any of us that people at the time had the thought that a baby had to survive on their own or they weren't worth the effort. Okay, eugenics.
I mean, I wasn't a premature baby, but like I would have had opinions that did not
No,
conform
no.
back then.
Even if I was a white woman, I would not have done
Whew.
well back then because I would have been hanged as a fucking witch. So, like,
Yeah, I
no.
would have been I would have been messed up for like loving you guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Ironically enough, though, incubators had already been in use for many years. You know why? You know why. You're a country boy. What were they using incubators for?
Growing weed?
Eggs.
Oh, okay.
Wrong kind of country boy.
Whoops.
Oh God. I'm talking like Darnell Farms country boy, not
Okay.
Mountain Murders country boy. Okay.
You mean Murder Mountain?
Murder Mountain country boy. Yeah, no. So we cared for the dinos, but not for the babies. Wonderful. I want to say Stephanie, but I think it's like Stefani or Stefan Tarnier, the mentor to Budin, was the first to attempt to use an incubator for a human child. Many people turned their heads at the idea, but they used to also mock doctors who wash their hands. So, I don't know. That was one of the craziest things I learned was there was a movement because women were getting sick and dying because doctors would do autopsies and then they would go help a woman give birth
Hmm.
without washing their hands in
Right.
between.
Yeah.
And somebody was like, hey, maybe you should wash your hands. And they were like, how absurd. That's ridiculous. I was like, excuse me.
That's crazy.
And which, I mean, I shouldn't be surprised because we literally had to teach adults how to wash their hands again 4 years ago. So,
Like, let's handle these bowels and then go dig in somebody's heart.
yeah, 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 exactly. Exactly. But after the show in Berlin, the idea gained traction. And it was his time working under Budin that gave Martin the knowledge to go and spread awareness of this machine. After their debut at the Jubilee, the Lancet Medical Journal stated that, quote, while the use of the incubator had not become general in England, any successful attempt to improve the construction of incubators and to render this life saving apparatus available to the general public must be welcome, end quote. Which is like, they say that, but then they also said some really shitty stuff about Martin. So I'm like, okay, make up your fucking mind.
Right.
An
Is
improvement
that the
would be
World Health Organization?
no, it's just a medical journal. Um, an improvement would be a good thing. Used for babies, the first versions of ones used for babies, quote, measured about 1.5 meters high with steel walls and framework and a glass front. In order to fill the incubators with warm air, water boilers fed warm water into pipes that ran underneath where the babies rested, and thermostats were placed inside the incubators to maintain and regulate temperatures, end quote. Which I should have known that that's how they worked, but like, I don't know. Like, the ones that they created then are nothing like what Patty was in,
Yeah, the ones they got now are like so
which they're plastic too. But
they like they're almost alien like.
yeah, they're just like pods.
Yep.
It's like really cool. You can just like stick your hands in there and play with your baby, but they're like in a pod.
Yep.
It's a little strange, and I get it makes some people uncomfortable because they're like, "Why is the baby in the box?" And it's like, well, it's keeping them alive.
I thought
That's
it was
why.
amazing.
Yeah, it was really really cool.
That like the NICU when Patty was in there made me feel so like they made me feel safe because they were like taking care of her.
Yeah, I I go in and like give praise to NICU people in here, but the people up there at that hospital, they were underpaid, understaffed, overworked,
Yeah.
and yet the nurses that Patty got still gave each baby their attention like
Yeah.
it was the only baby on that floor.
Yeah.
So I can't say enough good about NICU
Yeah.
workers. I can't.
They were amazing.
Martin's show had many different names, but its most well known location was on Coney Island, where he had the Infantorium. He had a similar facility in Atlantic City that was open for almost 40 years. In these facilities, Martin employed doctors and nurses to care for the babies. The babies would be in their incubators as the crowds who had paid 25 cents apiece filed past. The nurses would take the babies out to cuddle, feed, and clean them in front of the audiences as well. Unlike many medical facilities in the country, Martin's facilities were always clean and ran professionally.
You know where it looks like they had those?
Huh,
The Nathan's place.
it's possible.
That's what the building looks like, but
Yeah.
I could be wrong though.
I mean, I'm pretty sure it burnt down.
Did it?
Maybe. So probably not. But
Right.
I mean, it was clean. And it was largely in part thanks to Annabelle, his wife, who is a former nurse at the facility.
Mm-hmm.
She pushed to make sure that everybody followed proper hygiene and cleaning protocols.
Sure.
So she was like, "We're going to be clean. We're going to be clean." While 25 cents does not seem like a lot today, with the number of visitors that the shows received, Martin was able to afford to care for all the children, pay his employees well, and travel showing off his incubators often, all without ever charging any parents a single cent.
Wow, that's cool.
And I think that is what the fact that made me love this man when I first heard about him is he did all this and never charged the parents
Yeah.
any money. And that is how healthcare should be.
Sure.
That's
Sure.
why we need universal health care, because I will take that $80 a week we pay in healthcare and put it into the taxes and get free healthcare for everybody so nobody
Yeah.
has to pay.
For sure.
Anyways.
That'd be amazing.
So what is so special about Martin's sideshow and the care the babies got? Well, for one, they just got cared for. Again, this was a time when it was not common for medical professionals to go out of their way to make sure a preemie survived. Eugenics, which we covered in an episode of The Paranormal Lovers, was a popular movement at the time. So when the babies came into Martin's care, they would get a nice warm bath and maybe a little bit of brandy to help them calm down.
Right.
Listen, we don't do it anymore, but this, we know,
Yeah.
this was a common practice back in the day to give the babies a little nip of whiskey, or take it and rub it on their gums when they're teething because it like numbs their gums.
For sure.
They each got a pink or blue ribbon so visitors could tell what sex they were. The babies stayed in the incubators most of the time unless it was time to eat. All the babies were given breast milk, which also shout out to women who pump and donate their breast milk to the hospitals, because our baby lived off of that for a few days. So shout out to y'all. Y'all doing some Lord's works out there. Either through a wet nurse or by bottle feeding. For the ones who would not be, for the ones who today would be on an NG tube, they were fed by spoon feeding milk through the nose, which I was like, okay, okay, okay. Like, I was like, I mean, they do stick an NG tube in their nose, so there is a way for it to go that way.
Yeah.
Patty had one of those too. And that was real wild.
Yeah.
The wet nurses were put on a strict diet and forbidden from doing certain things. They could not smoke or drink and had to eat a healthy diet to make sure that they always had good quality milk. Occasionally, the babies would be taken out to be cuddled in front of the audiences, and one of the nurses would take a diamond ring and slide it up their little itty bitty arm to show how tiny they were. Because they really do be little. You remember how tiny Patty was?
Oh, yeah.
4 pounds, 3 ounces, 17 inches long. Her foot was like this big.
Yep.
She was so goddamn tiny. But of course, there were those who got a virtue signal, and child protection groups lost their fucking mind over Martin's quote unquote sideshow. They claimed he was using the children in order to get rich. But I don't think that's all it was. I don't think that was it at all. Like, sure, he made some profit off of his shows, I'm sure, but I agree with what he said in defense of his work. This was the last chance these children had.
Yeah.
This was it. If they did not get a chance to go to one of his shows and stay in the incubator, they most likely would have died.
Yeah.
And then what are the child protection groups going to bitch about?
Right.
Like,
Oh, he didn't do anything to save him.
right. And I think his own experience with having a premature child fueled his passion to help as many children as he could.
I'm sure.
Others decried having babies in fairgrounds so close to animals and their waste. I kind of get that. Um, and oh, the horror that there would be these babies in incubators at a fair right beside a peep show. Peep show. Titties. Babies and titties. It's a peep show. The wet nurse is on break. Just take it over there. I was aghast. It's like I wasn't aghast, but I like felt the urge to be aghast at babies by topless women,
Right.
as if they literally don't have fucking wet nurses breastfeeding babies in there. Oh, that's what breasts are for, people. I get people are in there sexualizing them, but the baby's like, it's a titty. It's food.
Yeah.
They don't give a shit why it's naked.
No,
They're like,
they
it's
don't.
food. That's all they care about, y'all. Anyways.
They don't care about what's going on in the next room neither.
Oh, no, they don't. The biggest hit to what Martin was doing was the 1911 Coney Island fire. Thankfully, all of the babies made it out safe, but people pointed out how dangerous it could be to care for these babies in an amusement park. Because he was like, yeah, he had his infantorium on
Like
Coney
right next
Island,
to the
where we went.
right next to the dang
Ferris wheel and shit.
yeah, roller coasters.
Yeah.
The boardwalk. That's what I was trying to say. Boardwalk.
Yeah. So to prove that his methods worked, on July 25th, 1934, Martin held a reunion of the babies. Of the 58 babies that he and Julius Hess, who became known as the father of modern American neonatology, cared for in 1933, 41 of those children came to the reunion with their mothers, which is pretty cool. And they loved that shit at the hospitals, man. You come back up there with your baby,
Yeah.
like a year or two later. Hell, we might go up there 10 years later and like, look at this. Look at this. They fucking love it. There's like pictures of all the babies and how they've grown in there. It's sweet.
Yeah.
Regardless of what people were saying about Martin and his methods, people were taking notice. The exhibit had ran during the 1933 Chicago World's Fair and the summer of 34 as well. Oh, excuse me. The exhibit that ran during the 1933 Chicago World's Fair and the summer of 34 caught the attention of the city's health commissioner. By the end of the 1934 fair, Chicago had become the first American city to put procedures for preemies in place, which could have happened much sooner. Whenever Martin took his show on the road, he would attempt to donate his machines to the local hospitals after the shows were over, but no one accepted his gift. At least not until 1934.
Right.
And that may be I'm sorry. Hang on. Two things. I need to look at this and make sure they're not sending me a message about the kiddo. Nope. Donald Trump. I don't fuck about him. Leave me alone. Damn. Wasting my time. And that may be due to what other exhibits were in the fair. Again, eugenics were taking off in the country, and in the medical field, preemies were not seen as worth the effort. There were literally exhibits pushing eugenics at fairs.
Wow.
Pushing the eugenics.
Yeah.
So you would have eugenics booth over here, and then you have the inventorium over here. What a fucking time to be alive.
Politics, man.
Mm-hmm.
Stuff that never should be in politics.
This led Martin to being mocked and seen as a joke within the medical field. Just in 1900, an American doctor had produced a film named Kill Defectives, Save the Nation. In medical articles and journals, Martin was condemned, quote, stating the babies would pass on their deficiencies, deformities, and vices to the next generation, end quote.
Mm-hmm.
When I was like, motherfuckers, I don't know what deficiencies or deformities you think a baby born 8 weeks early is going to have. I'll get into it, but that is not my personal experience.
No.
But Martin would not give up on his work, and thank the gods he did not. By his death at age 80 on March 1st, 1950, Martin had saved the lives of at least 6,500 babies.
Wow.
And those are just the ones he personally helped save. I cannot even imagine how many babies in this country, including ours, made it past that first year of life because of his work.
Yep.
And for the people who may hear this someday and believe in eugenics for preemies, you're a dumbass.
For sure.
All the preemies I know ended up being the head of the class. In my experience, they're healthier, smarter, and also kinder than most other kids. And that's not me just blowing smoke out my ass. I have a child who's premature and a 47-year-old brother who is premature.
Both way ahead of their times.
Way ahead of their times. They're so fucking smart. It's ridiculous. And I was like, I don't feel that smart. And then I found out I am that smart. So again, just my experience, but no child asked to be born. So why would we not do the most to make sure that they live?
For sure.
That's the thing that kills me. No fucking kid asked to be born. So
Yeah.
why the hell are we just like, we'll see if they make it?
Well, and it's giving birth is not a simple thing. It's not a like straightforward
No.
like, oh, this and this and this is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you have a curveball and
We got a fucking curveball.
you have to do what you can to try to
Make the most of it.
try to save a life.
It was rough for us because like my water broke and they were like, I don't think it's your water breaking. And then like 4 days later, they were like, you got to go to the hospital because it's your water leaking.
Yeah.
So I was in the hospital for like 4 days and then I went into labor. Patty was in the NICU for 2 weeks. And I remember like bawling on the way there, like halfway through, like, I just want her to come home. And now I'm like, can she go back to the NICU for a week, please? Terrible, I know. But so what do you think of Martin and his work, Bill?
It's amazing.
Right? He is not getting the recognition he deserves, I don't think.
He's why I have a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Like him bringing that machine across the pond to the US saved our kid's life.
Makes me wonder who invented the that UV light that they put on her.
The bilirubin light. Disco baby,
Yep.
disco baby, disco baby,
We
disco
had
baby.
disco baby.
It was cute as shit, man. They have the light that they have now. It's like a pad that they lay the baby on.
Yeah.
And then you can wrap them up in a blanket with that pad wrapped up around them,
Mm-hmm.
and it just glows blue. And then Patty would they give them these little sunglasses so it doesn't hurt their eyes.
Yeah.
They're like little foam glasses. She had a little pacifier, and it was all glowing. She just looked like a little rave baby. I miss the baby days.
Yeah.
I, for one, am very thankful for his work. Like I said, my brother was born 43
sure.
years after Chicago began their practices in 1977 at 3 pounds and 12 ounces.
Wow.
He was so small, I don't think he would have lived without an incubator. And honestly, I might not be here if he hadn't.
Right.
And while I do believe that Patty could have survived without, I'm glad we did not have to find out.
For sure.
And again, a shout out to anyone who is listening who might work in an NICU. Y'all are some of my biggest heroes and do not get the recognition or pay that y'all deserve.
For
so
sure.
Thank you for your service. All right, guys. Well, let us know down below or on Instagram or in an email what you guys think about Martin and him bringing the incubator over here and a little bit of...
Sounds like a pretty awesome dude.
I think it was a pretty awesome dude. And I think there's a lot to be said about him being a German, Jewish, Polish dude back then. Like, not wanting people to know because it just wasn't safe.
Right.
Like, Hitler wasn't quite in power yet, but he was coming up the ranks. So,
yeah,
I don't know what's in this guy's past. I don't know what he did,
Right.
but whatever he did when he was younger, I think he possibly made up for it
Sure.
with all 6,500 babies, Bill.
Yeah.
In like 40 years, he saved 6,500 babies. And to think about all
It's a
the
lot of babies.
kids that they had, the grandkids that they've had,
Mm-hmm.
like he has literally brought hundreds of thousands of people probably into this world
I'm sure.
just by sticking them in a chicken egg box.
I forget how many there were in Patty's thing. It was like
There's
1,000 that year or something.
like probably that year. I remember that NICU, there's like four.
I got the shirt, and like all the
Yeah.
names are on the back of the shirt, and it's
Oh,
just like
well,
little itty bitty names.
that was actually just a special shirt that I had bought online for Prematurity Awareness Month.
Yeah.
And you could go on and get your kid's name added onto it. So that was just like random people putting their name on it. Like,
Yeah.
but I know that in up at Mission they have like 4 rows. Each row is there's 2 sides. And I want to say that there's 4 or 5 bays on each side.
Yeah.
So you've got 40 bays. You can have 40 babies. And that's if you have singles.
Yeah.
We had triplets across the bay from us.
Yeah, so they had 3 of them in the same bay.
They had 3 babies in one bay, y'all. And this
Yep.
poor woman was in there pumping her life out.
Yep.
I was like, I got one. And I looked over and this bitch is holding 3. And I was like, oh God, that's a lot. Couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. All right, guys. Well, we hope you enjoyed this little lighter episode. Like I said, not all of history is dark. And sometimes we got to find the light stories as well. If you know a preemie, give them a hug. Give them a hug. And
Yeah.
we will see you guys next week.
Love you guys.
Love you. Bye.
Bye.